So hey everyone, thank you so much for joining this session, which is the series of hack series. The session is Algorand Assistant track, and we'll talk about this particular problem statement, what we are expecting you to build, and what's a good way, or you can say effective way to build on this series, and what's the selection criteria, and a lot of different things we'll discuss. We have Dr. Nikhil Verma, Tech Lead India for Algorand Foundation in India, and Mithosar Mohita, Sunil Kapadia. Sorry guys, I'm not mentioning your roles and your titles, but yeah, let's get started. So I'll just the vision. So this particular track, what we are expecting you to build something which helps people who are building in our ecosystem, our developers community or startup projects, or let's say social media marketing guys, anyone. So you build something which helps these guys to get AI support, or which they can leverage the AI, the intelligence, and they can build something on their own. So it's like you build some components, modules, SDKs, or something, as a small plugin, some sort of, so which others can utilize, others can build, and it will be open source. As you know, this hack series is all about open source. So that will be open source, and others can use it, others can collaborate to your project also after the submission and everything. So it's not like just not your traditional hackathon, which you will build a project and it will end. It will be like continuous development on some sort of repository, and others will collaborate, will make it more better. So there are three things I've mentioned here: ecosystem growth, streamlined development, and which will at the end democratize the access, the make Algorand powerful tech accessible to everyone. And the main focus is broad impact. So it's not, we are not expecting you to build
Mudassir,
whole AI.
Mudassir, sorry,
Uh,
your slides are not changing. We're just seeing the main slide only.
oh,
If you
uh, let me share the screen again. Is it visible, Prof?
Yes, visible now.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, main focus is to build reusable tools, as I mentioned, which will create a broad impact. So it's not like you build a project which will end here. So it will be a tool or application or interface which can be reusable. So for example, VS Code extensions. You can build a VS Code extension where I can, when I build on VS Code, it will give me some snippets so I can utilize it. It can be a GitHub Copilot uh, focused on Algorand-specific development, and SDKs and all the utils and the ARCs. And it can be AI agents. These days, these agents are very much in development. So you can build some agents which others can use it and create their own, uh, you can say, a knowledge base. So you created a module for developers, and you train some data, but it can be also possible that others can put more data and make it more broader knowledge base. A few core features is, first of all, of course, it's more developer focused. That particular AI should give you the results on your smart contract development or SDKs. So because as you all know, we don't require a smart contract for asset creation or transactions or something. So if you are using the AlgoKit utils or SDKs, so it should be focused on that. So code generation or error detection. So let's say there are some errors, or if you're building with the algo kit with the Python smart contract, if there is indentation error or something, so it should detect that. So these are few core features. Other is security scan is like a more advanced thing where you are able to recognize if there are any loophole or any vulnerabilities in the smart contract. So it's can I mean it can possible that you build some sort of AI model which can detect this uh, vulnerability. And ID integration. So as I mentioned, the VS Code ID. So you can build. So there are a lot of plugins already there in the VS Code with the SDKs, but you can build something with sort of smart contracts, which build a snippet. So if you are building let's say you are creating atomic transaction, so that snippet can give you 2 3 transactions. You don't need to write the whole code. It will just generate that particular snippet. So this can also, so these are basically ideas I'm giving you where you should think about. And these are basically where I'm expecting you to build. Other is ecosystem support. So if you can also build something not focusly on the codes, but on technical thing. So let's say I want to read something about ARC19. So that model should tell me all about the ARC19 content and what exactly the ARC19 is, what it does, or ARC3, ARC69, all these things, and any other thing also. Let's say how to write a transaction with the Algorand utils. So it's should give me some sort of knowledge base, some technical knowledge that what is Algorand utils, and then how to write it, what's the process. So these are few things. Intelligent Q&A assistant. You have any questions related to the ecosystem? What's the total supply of Algorand? When the mainnet was launched, or any other thing. Let's say what's the assets in, let's say, AlgoBharat dot algo account. What's the asset and how much algo this account holds? These type of things which you can use indexer. You can use APIs to collect these data from where you can track what the particular wallet is holding, what's the analytics, how much transaction have done in last 7 days or last past 25 hours. So these are few type of data. And this is basically another model. It's not like you. So as I mentioned in the previous slide, this is more focusly on your development thing. Why I'm dividing these two different things, because we want you to build something which is focused on something, which should not be a broader thing. You don't need to train all the data, all the things in the algorithm ecosystem. It should be focused. If you're building for a smart contract development, it should be that, so that I get, when I uh, give the commands or prompts to that AI, it should give me that specific answer. I don't need a very broad answer. So that's why we are dividing these uh, ecosystem support and then your technical part. And then other is multi-platform accessibility. So as I mentioned in the previous slides, web-based agents which can be utilized in multiple platforms. Let's say I'm building a startup in the algorithm ecosystem. I want an AI assistant which helps others or people who are coming to my platform, my website. They can check with the AI that what is this platform all about, and how they are utilizing the algorithm, and how many transactions they are doing in the algorithm ecosystem. So these type of things, multi-platform accessibility. You can create a CLI tool, SDK integration, or AI support. When you go to, I mean, these days, when you go to any websites, there are AI assistant or service help desk. So these sort of help desks you can create, which others can use it, right? So you create a one help desk and 10 other people can easily integrate it. So some sort of that um, thing. It's multi-platform accessibility, right? So anyone can use it on their platforms. These are basically success story. It means the end product, the end results will be like this AI chatbot. It can be It can be support request, AI help desk, which will help development faster, of course, and any theoretical knowledge or any platform related knowledge, it helps on that. And then, of course, we are building a community, so community will be happy. And meanwhile, in between, if you have any questions, you can jump in. I'm just giving you a brief about what we are expecting and what uh, someone is asking questions. Okay. And we have Dr. Nikhil Verma. He'll also tell us more about more core what we are looking for. For example, how to train, what exactly should train, what the roadmap we should follow to train our data. So this is all in my slide. But if you have any questions, now we'll move on to Q&A. But Dr. Nikhil, please give us more insights and what a good or best roadmap we should follow to create these models, or how we should train the data.
Yes, absolutely, Mudassir. So, Mudassir, I mean, what you've mentioned is a more, I would say, a trained system, right? But what I would kind of encourage people to first build is a correct model. See, this whole training system of training with data is a continuous process. All the things that you mentioned, like, more or less like a search functionality which comes in later. I think that is a continuous process. You see, even like, a chat GPT or has data only up to a particular date. Right. If you actually search data, they'll say this was trained up to 2023 or 2024. Right. So only DeepSeek has this built this search functionality that it is able to go and seek the current updated data frameworks to be able to kind of put that into your system. So we have to be able to first differentiate between an AI engine and a search engine. Right. A search engine also has AI, by the way. Yeah, we already had AI lot. What we are looking for and what Mudassir was mentioning is mostly what we call as a small language model, not a large language model. A small language model requires less computational power, right? Because everybody will say, why are you building this when we can use OpenAI only, right? We just train OpenAI. Why do we need this? Now, the reason why everybody is looking for these smaller models is because there is a high computational cost. Right, we are a green carbon. I mean, carbon footprint is negative for Algorand, but when we do all these kind of searches, we are actually kind of having a huge carbon footprint. People don't realize, right? But if we kind of suppose, Mudassir, in our any kind of a sandbox or any kind of a development environment that we build, this open source AI assistant that we put in, while software development only the developer will have such a high carbon footprint. What is the point building in a carbon negative platform, right? So we want to make these small language models, which are not energy computational intensive, which are much more smarter and robust and very specific. Right. I mean, why do I have to sit in a truck when I'm just buying one bag of rice? That's the whole idea. Right. So if
Mhm.
you have a one bag of rice, I can go in a cycle and get it done, right? So why would I have to sit in a truck to go shopping? So just follow that logic. Sometimes people kind of tend to question this. That's one of the things that I want to make sure that we understand. Now, coming to what your AI assistant will be able to do is not, I think that is not something that we will be testing you on, because that is about the training of the model. Yeah, we want to see what is the capability that you've built. How have you been able to build it more optimally? That from this whole perspective, right? We want to build an AI Algorand AI assistant that we will park in every single development environment as a tool. So suppose you are developing now, you have an AI assistant. You click on the AI assistant, say, what are the latest ARC? Now that AI assistant might say, I was last updated on ARC on this particular day. Yeah. After that, I have not got any updation. So this is now a smart AI assistant which tells me, hey, by the way, I was last updated in December 2024. And as of December 24, these are the different ARCs that are there, right? So build a model which would be specific. Use yourself as the persona as a developer who will be using this AI assistant to be able to make applications in Algorand, right? Uh, I mean, I would try to stay away from the search functionalities. That is something which we can always search. But yeah, you can guide them, right? What is the latest block in Algorand? Yeah, to be able to find the latest block in Algorand, go to this explorer and click on this particular link, and you'll be able to find the latest. You see, so this is actually what I call as a smart assistant. Yeah, this is my assistant, which will help me. But it is the framework is being trained from the back. It could be something which could be private to me, I could run on a local machine. That is what the whole construct of small language model is. Or it could be using the LLM framework, but is not that energy computive because it is does not have so much of things to process. That's the key idea here, right? And that's what we are looking for some people in AI. This is actually a AI problem. This is nothing to do with blockchain.
Mm.
But this has to help. This will help us in the blockchain development, and that is the reason why we've put it in this hackathon, because I feel that any open source component, any development component that comes from the developers, will be able to have an international audience, because this will what we would do is we would this to be deployed in every development environment, right? If you install new AlgoKit, right, and there is a plugin with your Algorand Assistant, AI assistant. So you imagine the number of people in the world who will be using your AI assistant, and that's the intent, that's the objective, and that's what we hope to achieve here. Of course, there will be a lot of optimization and other things that we would help you with, but this is a starting point for any AI person, whoever is learning AI, to be able to go and see how you can build or how you can use the existing AI model. You could go and look at a DeepSeek model. You can go and look at a Claude model. You can look at a Grok model. All those, you can go to Google Colab and do a lot of things. Mudassir was telling me, Hugging Face, you will be able to kind of
Llama 3.
define the different kinds of structures, right? So
Mm.
there are multitude of different avenues that you could use. This is not exactly a very coding intensive thing. This is about you being able to find and extract and build something which is, and of course all these are open source. So you will be using an open source to be able to build a patch on top of open source that would be then kind of published. So that's the key thing here, right? Of course, I can go on and on onto what all things we can do with AI and blockchain, but I think this should be our starting point with AI, with the AI assistant, and I suppose that it would have a huge value in whatever we are doing.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Dr. Nikhil. um, if you have questions now, you can ask. You can ask on the chat board also, in the chat box. So, Dr. Prof, I have a question. So, what's the best approach for training the AI assistant for specific knowledge? So, if you could just
So
give us
see,
brief.
first of all, you have to build a nice model. You have to understand how does the model kind of get the training system, right? How do we train the model on large language model? Large language, or actually, let's not call it large language model. Let's talk about generative AI. What exactly is generative AI, right? First, you have to go and study what generative AI is. The whole idea of generative AI is that it is something which keeps running. There is a system which keeps running. So, like, it says the sky is blue, right? So it'll write a sentence, then it'll run another one to find this word sky, and then it'll go and find out what is the most appropriate word for the sky. The sky is blue. Yeah.
Mm.
When it snows, it'll be white. It'll be white all around. Yeah. So this generative AI keeps rolling and keeps finding the next best possible word. That's the whole idea. That's the construct of generative AI. Now, how do we find the most optimal generative AI, which is not very energy intensive? That's the second thing. Yeah. Then you have to create synthetic data, not not the real data, to be able to test the efficacy of your generative AI. Over there, you will not have any algorithm or anything. you would try to create a small data set and limit that data set, that AI, to be able to play in that data set. So if the data set, if there is nothing in the data set, the AI should say, I don't know what you're talking about, rather than trying to do something on its own. So basically, you have to have a controlled reaction. Then you start feeding in some data set about Algorand. Algorand was found by so and so. Algorand is a layer one blockchain platform, and and start sourcing all that information in a more structured manner, which then the AI, you can test out how it works. Yeah, what we would do, Mudassir, is we would probably have a set of data set that we would feed one shot to all the participants' AI systems, and then we will be able to compare and contrast whose AI system performs best. That's how this competition would work, in my opinion. We could have a few other ways of doing it. They could have baselining, timing, energy, but I think that would be very advanced features. We don't want to get there. Okay, so try to build a model which is easy to train, which has guardrails, and when it doesn't know anything, tells you, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
And and it also tells you this some kind of the deep seek backend, the back office. If you have looked at deep seek how it works, right, it tells you how it is thinking, and then it shows you its iterations also before giving you an output. Yeah, if you are able to see show what is happening in the back office, to be able to find the ARCs in Algorand, I have to look at my training in ARCs. But wait, I was last trained on December 2024 on the latest ARCs. So I have to tell the user first that December 2024 is the latest date that I have. And hence, now I will be presenting the ARCs of December 24. So now the person who's using this gets to know what this person is, the assistant is thinking, right? And then the assistant gives me an output. Yeah. So that's a very interesting way of looking at things, and I think that is where the innovation is going to come in, right? That is what we want to see here. How can you build, how can you go and find the best model, how can you optimize that best model to be able to then train it with Algorand data?
Yes,
Make
right. So
sense?
we can say it's like we need something with deep knowledge rather than a broader knowledge base.
That's very right. But the deep knowledge is something that comes from a training only, no? So essentially, it has to have the ability to be able to understand what it has and what it does not have. So it is in many ways, Mudassir, it is in many ways like an expert system. See, the whole construct of expert system was that it would use, it is also an AI system. An expert system would go to a database and look at all the data parameters, and based on that would give you some kind of an output. Okay. Uh, like, the Walmart and Target back in those days used to have, if the temperature is going to be 23 degrees centigrade and it is windy and it is the month of March, what should I come put in front of my store? The
Hmm.
AI engine would not start giving recommendation. The AI engine would go to their database system and try to find out with all the keys, find the nearest neighbor algorithm, use the nearest neighbor algorithm and say, you could keep either this juice, or you could keep this particular hardware in front of the store, because that we have seen that the sales of those are very high. You get me? So we are kind of making something similar to that. That, of course, it would use, from the AI perspective, there is an algorithm called the nearest neighbor algorithm. It uses a clustering model to be able to find which is your nearest neighbor when somebody is asking the question, and pulls things from the nearest neighbor, right? But what is happening is, even if it is not the nearest neighbor, suppose I ask a question, uh, what is the best way to build a Go language code in Algorand, right? There is no nearest neighbor that it will find from its training. It'll just hallucinate and just give something random. You get me? It'll not say, oh, as of now, we don't have that interface to be able to do that. You will have to use blah, blah, blah. It'll give you something crazy. And that's what hallucination is all about. Yeah. So we will have to use some kind of a framework to be able to make sure that if the distance is too much, it will say, sorry, I can't do anything. You
Hmm.
get me?
Right.
And that's the key thing here. That's the key challenge here. Yeah. As you can tell, AI is I'm a big student of AI, and I love AI. It's my area of PhD. And yeah, I'm doing a lot of work in small language model right now, and how the intersectionality with SLM and blockchain to be able to create personal agents. So, like agents, which is my agent, which knows me and secures my data and be able to do things for me. Eventually, we will graduate to that, but this year let's focus as Algorand Assistant.
Yeah, all right. So, Prof, can you also tell us about how much accuracy are we looking for? Because we are just
That
starting with
is,
the AI
see,
building.
that is how we'll be baselining. See, that is the
Yeah,
accuracy which I was telling you, right? There are different algorithms to be able to do the clustering. Okay. Essentially, the whole idea of classification or either yes or no. There are two things only which an AI
yeah,
engine does, right? It does classification. So you have predefined classification or dynamic classification. It will put things in different classes, or it will say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And then the personification of that is presented on top in different kinds of framework in large language models, right? We will have to define the intensity of the clustering, how close we are. If the distance is really far, it should just say, I don't know. Right? My Google Home Assistant at home, if I ask it a question which doesn't make sense, it doesn't hallucinate. It just says, sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. You get me?
yeah.
But my LLM, OpenAI, if I ask it something which is stupid, it'll still give me an answer. Right? So that's the difference. That's the guardrail over here. Okay. Mudassir, I will actually have to go
Yeah,
to another meeting, which
yeah,
was
sure,
scheduled.
sure.
But meanwhile, I'll just mute myself and see if it's actually on. If it's not, then I'll come back.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Prof. Meanwhile, guys, if you have any questions, and we also have Sunil Kapadia, AlgoBharat Regional Ambassador for Gujarat. If you want to share a few things with us, what's the winning mantra or something, if you want to share something.
Yeah, so that's it. The point is basically nobody needs to use that generative AI model. If you are afraid of that part, don't worry about that. It's a very big thing to do. The main thing is you need to design an interface which is called natural language understanding, because you need to process the text input text from the user, whoever is entering. So basically, very simple, design an NLU, which you can do with Rasa or any other open source framework. Then you design a graph DB where, I mean, Nikhil was talking about the KNN model, the nearest neighbor model. But that also is a little, that works basically with statistical data. It works better in a way of, for NLP, it's a different story. So for that, you need to use GraphDB. That is a very, very nice thing to use for chatbots and everything. Because I worked I used to work as a data scientist, so I can tell you that GraphDB and this combination can work wonders for you. So basically, when you design something, design a very simple interface, connect to a GraphDB. If you don't know GraphDB, you can go ahead use Neo4j, Kraken. There are plenty of options also. And they have a different language altogether for querying. But yeah, it can solve a very decent problem of you don't need to train the model like for KNN or anything, because GraphDB has this uncanny ability of connecting the dots for you, and that will be a great bonus. So try to utilize these things which are already there without, then you can say you can start training your model at the back end if you want, like collect the data, use some standard NLP, Stanford models, then upgrade those things. And I believe there are smaller models also available for these LLMs, which you can fine tune based on your requirement and publish. But again, publishing that and adding your code will be a little bit challenging for blockchain developers. But if you want to try, this is I can tell you that you can start something like this, so that you don't need to train models on straight away for NLP or for any other process. For those other things, once you find the intent, once you are able to find the entities which Nikhil was talking about, so the sentence breakdown, and then you can just call the respective APIs. You can say, I will not say very complex model, but at least a significant answering chatbot or a AI agent you can create. So rather than stepping into generative AI section, this will be a you can say great help or great founding stone for you to begin.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing all these. I think it should be very good enough knowledge base to start with the development of this particular track.
Yes, because AI agents,
Um,
basically, if you ask me, that's here, I mean, there are plenty of people who are trying to build AI agents, and some
right.
use generative AI. Now, what is the purpose of using generative AI in this? Because there is already a model built, and you fine tune with your parameters, with your information. Now, that is out of our skill set in term, not in terms of soft skill, in terms of hardware, because we don't have that much
Yeah, right.
bigger machine to process all that data, right? Because all the most, I mean, this Llama model 3.5B is open source, but that's a huge 140 GB model with some billions of
Right.
parameters. Now you cannot train that, right? So you have to make sure that there is a layer in between, and you process that information on your own, and that you filter the or pass that information to some other thing. That's where your things can be faster. You don't need to touch on the live data. You don't need to do much things, but you can create something which is significant and useful, right? So I am
Yeah.
actually since couple of months I'm working on. That's why I can tell you that this is basically a way to move forward.
Yeah, exactly. This is what Dr. Nikhil was talking. So we should focus on small SML, small model
Yes,
languages.
yes.
It's a 2000 rows or 5000 rows, not uh, a big chunk of data which you cannot even run on your computer.
No, no, it's not possible to run that kind of data for anybody. And it should not be the case. No, see, basically, even ChatGPT, the model trained, the models don't get trained immediately, right? So when we design an AI model, so what you guys can do is, let's say you make sure that 10 questions are answered by your model. Fine, that is okay. That is very good. Then design the 11th one,
Yeah.
because maybe possible people are asking questions in different ways. So 11th question, that becomes your feedback. So every model becomes a feedback loop. So it collects that information, goes to the graph database and tries to find out the nearest answer or what is the probable answer. Then that's how you can retrain the model, right? Kind of your CI/CD pipeline, so that the model also keeps on training. So you can collect this data for a week, let's say, hypothetically. And let's say there are 10, 15 questions. So you can retrain your model by whatever the missing gaps are, and update your GraphDB for newer connections. And GraphDB, as I said, is an inbuilt mechanism to find out newer connections. So Facebook and all, they have been using GraphDB since long, right? Because Facebook has the largest amount of data in the world, if you can say, in terms of textual data. Rest, plenty of other data. But here we are talking about, if you talk about smart contract, textual data. You will be asked in proper raw language. That is again text data. What you are answering is also text data. So this is a different segment of artificial intelligence where we talk about NLP engines, right? You can add a VI. VI is basically voice interface. So all these things you can later on add these little chunks of code, then open source, so that people can add to that code and maybe build a nice product.
All right. Thank you so much, Sunil Kapriya. Guys, if you have any questions now, you can ask. And I hope you get some good ideas and area where you have to focus on and what we are expecting you to build. If you have questions, you can ask, you can unmute yourself, or you can write in the chat box. If you don't, feel free to connect with us. I think you can register for the hack series. The link is in the chat box, and I will share you our social media links also. If you have questions later on, you can reach out to us, and yeah, I would love to help you in the development. I mean, we'll also do office hours and lot of sessions in between also, but this is just for a introductory workshop or webinar where we're basically talking about what we are expecting and how you should proceed, what should be your focus area. You should not just start building a chatbot, because these days what guys are doing, they start building cloning chat GPT or cloning Claude. We are not looking for some that type of projects. looking for something which can be reusable, which can give us exact knowledge we are looking for. As Dr. Nikhil mentioned, if we are looking for, let's say, ARC, some previous ARC, if let's say there's a new ARC which coming this month, or which just published last day, it should not give me that thing. It should be specific to, let's say, the model should tell me that I'm trained to December 2024. I can give you that data only. That model should be that accurate, right? I'm sharing you at AlgoBharat Twitter, and if you have anything to ask, please feel free. If you are shy, you can write in the chat box. But I think we are getting most of the submission in this track, because AI is booming nowadays, and everyone is very excited. But I don't know why they are not asking questions, but it's fine. I've shared the AlgoBharat Twitter. Please follow us. We share all the latest updates on our AlgoBharat Twitter and LinkedIn also. So you can follow, and you can also connect with us there. If you don't have any questions, we can wrap up this call. We'll wait for next 2 minutes, and we can close this. Sunil sir, meanwhile, if you want to share a few ideas, I mean, you shared the journey. If you want to share some ideas, what should be built in this particular track?
See, basically, GitHub Copilot or every other this kind of thing, don't try to build that. It's not possible because it's supported by a very, very large chunk of data, and that's why they are able to do it, right? And again, they are also reading the data from Stack Overflow or GitHub or anywhere. So it is just processing that information and putting into a very elegant manner. Period. So what you should do is, as I said earlier, it's very simple. Design a very simple interface, and if possible, hard code. Like these are the 5 questions I'm trying to build my model on, and these are the 5 expected answers. That's why I said that use a feedback loop, right? So that you can upgrade your model and it is being trained. See, basically, if you say that, okay, some statement and some author describes that statement, that's a different story altogether. That's what exactly ChatGPT does or any kind of LLM does. But the information, core information always comes from some programmer like us. So what you need to do is find out that piece of code or what piece of information you want to share, connect with GraphDB and these NLU engines, and you are good to go. So that's how you should start, but rather than worrying about how do I collect the data and how do I train the model, because collecting the data is a huge task. If you try to scrape the website itself for AlgoBharat, let's say ARC and all the other things, it will take a huge amount of time and ultimately you will not achieve the desired result. So that's what I can tell, that start small, do something, and then move ahead. Like I like to use Microsoft chatbot framework because that gives me access to 12 different platforms. So I have to write my code only once, which I can use around 12 different platforms like Teams, Skype, a website, and everywhere. So that is why I use that, but that is a paid one. So if I need free one, I'll go with Rasa. Rasa also allows you to create your own NLU engines, which you will try to understand. Your text will be understood by the model, and then respective answers will be fetched. So something like this you should try.
Yeah, I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. It should start with, as you said, hard code, maybe codes. Just this question will give this answer. Should start with just very small and then keep expanding that particular thing.
Exactly. But don't start just
Uh,
comparing the text with if else. It won't work like that. So what you need
yeah.
to do is you need to create a standard NLP engine which understands the intent of the statement and finds out the proper information so that you can then ultimately it becomes a switch case. So there is no doubt about that. But primarily, you have to find that intent. That basically is a statistical model. So in NLP, every word converts to a vector. That vector nearby information is coming from that. So that you need to find out. So designing an NLP engine itself is a bigger task. Then you can add the information. So don't try it in a different way. As I told, just start with 4 or 5 questions, then add your code step by step. Because the moment the model grows bigger, NLP starts to give you trouble. Because then the distance between these words become narrower and narrower. So you have to design. Maybe sometimes, in the past also we faced the problem and we had to bifurcate two different NLP engines. So for the user it was only one, but at the core there were multiple engines taking care of the information. So something like this also will happen to you, but start like this and it will not be a huge problem for you guys.
Thank you, Sunil sir, for sharing all these. I'm also started learning here because my area is blockchain now. I'm learning a lot of things, so it's very exciting to guide and also learn meanwhile. I
Yes,
think
yes. You should. My first AI agent will be ready in couple of weeks. So
wow.
I'm following something. I'll introduce when I finish that. But I'm also, because since I used to have, I was a data scientist before. I guess exactly when I started my blockchain journey, I was playing both the roles, data scientist and blockchain. That's why I can connect the dots. But I still work with AI because that's a fascinating world.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. And tomorrow we have another session with Sunil Kapadia again for the NFT marketplace with APIs webinar. So please join tomorrow's session. It will be more exciting because everyone loves the marketplace thing. So we'll see you tomorrow. I think we can end this call, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Mudassir.
Thank you, Mudassir, for the session.
thanks.
The recording of this session will be available. It'll be up in a few minutes, so folks can check our YouTube channel, and they can definitely reach out to you, Mudassir. Do you just want to put in your own social media handles, please, so they can reach out
Yeah.
to you? Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a happy weekend and see you tomorrow.